Ta-da. Okay, let's stand for pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call. Roll call.
Lance Davis,
Here.
President McKee, here. Bert Lehman, here. Jeff Kilmer,
Here.
is Mark,
Mark Manley.
Mark Manley?
Yep, present.
Okay, we have a quorum.
Okay, we have a quorum. I know two individuals that were definitely not going to be here today, so we do have the quorum. Will continue. There's no one in the audience at the current time.
Comes BJ.
BJ right there, just walked in. Okay, we've already started and we're amateurs, so
I'm glad you didn't wait on me.
I think we got it recording and working at least.
That's good.
Pearson's here. He's Pearson. Have any of you seen the minutes? We thought we had them to Rocky and that they would be posted, but they still aren't.
I haven't seen them.
So something's still clogged up in that system. There are two sets of minutes from Thursday to September 12th and from October 3rd that I have copies of here, but since no one can read them, I guess we've messed up somehow. And so that's still TBD for the next meeting. Okay, for today's agenda, I would like to add an item to the new business, item D, negotiations with Colfax County. That's the way I worded it. That would be my only change to today's agenda.
Well, one thing we've got to be cautious, we didn't advertise that item. So, I think we could have it, before we start, we could have discussion, but there can't be any decisions made,
Yes.
pertaining to that. So I wouldn't suggest adding it to the agenda.
Okay.
I'd rather just have that discussion before we start the agenda.
Okay. That you're present and I suggest we start that discussion.
Okay.
That's a proper way to do it. Thanks. The question that I had, if I can start this with yourself, is that the stack of documents that we got indicate there's some negotiations that are being done, and I guess we'd just like to get an update on the exactly.
So I can tell you that, Manager Weir and I spoke with the village manager and the county's attorney, last Friday. And based on that conversation, there's just some basic starting points that we all agreed on. One being we need to have a boundary survey of the airport. Two, we need to have an appraisal of the airport. So I'll let you know both of those, both the boundary survey and the appraisal have been ordered. Line of sight, Carl Nelson will be performing the boundary survey. He said he could have it to us within 6 weeks. It was a certain price. We wanted it within 4 and a $3,000 discount if we did it within 6. I didn't feel like that would really make that big of a difference, so we opted for the 6 weeks. The appraiser is a commercial appraiser out of Albuquerque. I'm not exactly sure what his time frame is. They tend to take a little bit longer as well, but I would imagine we'll have both of those in a similar time frame. So those have both been ordered. The other thing that we needed to start right away was an inventory of the assets at the airport, and the county manager has already tasked Scott with that, and he's currently working on that. Those were the three big things that we knew we'd need sooner than later, and they're all being addressed currently. Without getting into the agenda, there's some items that we can discuss when we get to that point on the agenda. But as far as negotiations are concerned, there hasn't been any other, there's not been any monetary negotiations. Again, we just need to understand what we're working with. I will say openly that in tackling this endeavor, the village has committed to the lion's share of the cost. Obviously, the county pays their attorney, but our attorneys will be paying for the appraisal, will be paying for the survey and so on and so forth. So as far as negotiations are concerned, if you consider that negotiations, but we kind of went into it with that, knowing that they really don't have the money to commit to this. So if we're gonna see it through, that was really the only way that was gonna happen. So again, without getting, this will put together a picture for what the airport's worth.
So there's still a discussion to purchase.
You know, I don't even wanna.
Talk about lease and we weren't sure.
So that's a different item. What we're looking at doing now is, leasing the airport in the short term. When I say short term, until a transfer can be completed
Okay,
to operate the airport. And I'll just say one of our biggest concerns is the scheduled flights coming in, scheduled 6 days a week. We've just got to make sure that the airport, whenever possible, is available to accept those flights 6 days a week, as well as other aircraft. So you may recall, I'm sure many of you know, last winter and I'm sure it was previous winters, and Scott's done a phenomenal job with the resources he has and his schedule. And I couldn't imagine structuring it any other way, given the budget and the manpower that the airport has. But if it snows on a Sunday, you may not be bringing an aircraft in until Friday. Because he's off Monday and Tuesday, one-man show on Tuesday, on Wednesday and Thursday, and hopefully clear runway on Friday. I'm just saying, if that's the event, even if it snows during his shift, and it's oftentimes 2-3 days, we're not naive to the fact that it's gonna happen, and there's nothing we can do about it, but we just wanna make sure that we can throw whatever we can at it, in the short term, and also start to use that time to really understand, the needs at the airport from an operational standpoint.
So, BJ, we have two people out of the airport, you know, we are short one piece of equipment, either truck mounted plow or
Right.
something similar. But in past times, with that equipment load, we always cleared the runway at 2 o'clock the next day
Yeah.
with two people. So. no
Well,
matter
and again,
what,
last year
after
was just
storm,
one person.
Yes, so. now
And
we
the
have
other
two.
is too, and forgive me, I don't have this in front of me, but I wanna say that we would, well, if we lease the airport, then we would be taking on the employees.
Okay,
Because I don't think they have budgeted to keep the 2 employees. That was a struggle. As we all know, the budget that we used their budget in our business proposal, and even the county told us it wasn't enough money. And we go, well, that's what you have budgeted.
we knew
Again,
that, that
we
was
know
just what
that,
we
it was
thought.
data, no, again, I know, that's the data
was
that
an
we
act.
had, of course, no, I'm just saying. We used that, and then that wasn't enough money, we knew that, the county knows that. But they had to make their numbers work, they're gonna obviously be doing budget adjustments, a lot of them throughout the year, but. My point is to make sure that we keep 2 employees and even possibly add. And it's not just keeping the runways clear, it's everything involved.
Sure.
So we just wanna make sure that. One, that we wanna make sure that this scheduled flight is a success. I don't want people flying into Albuquerque and then be stranded. Any more than, you know, it happens, but.
We have to.
We wanna, and we also wanna have a functioning facility when they arrive and depart. So I'll just say that's where that discussion has led to, we feel better. We wanna make sure that it's successful, and quite frankly, wanna apply, with the county and the resort's help for these grants in the future, hopefully secure more. But we need to show that it's a success, and so we need to do everything on our part to make sure it's a success. Again, not to exclude the local, I say the individual pilot. We want to have the airport more accessible to them. And as you know, I was a few minutes late, but I was with a client that was leaving town. He's been here for a week, but I mean, he's one that flies in and out regularly. And, but I would say he's in Taos more than he's here. So he's excited about it and everybody else that I have as well. So just wanted to put that out there. That's where the lease side of this comes in.
Oh, part of my question was long-term lease, and I kind of know that's not what you're talking about.
Well, no, we want to get the transfer done. And so when I say short term, it's the year, 18 months, 2 years, whatever it may take to complete this process. But we feel like it would be in everyone's best interest, including the county. They seem to be in support of this as well. Of us just leasing the airport.
BJ, so, and I know, I don't know if you want to say publicly, but what are you thinking? Because you have to put down on paper the lease, 3 years, 2 years,
So again, we've just opened these negotiations.
open negotiations, so you don't know.
So that is a separate negotiation from the transfer,
Correct.
and I can't speak to that yet.
No, understood. No,
Yeah, snow removal is gonna be a big thing, without a doubt. To kind of tie that into the transfer, and I know you gotta go here soon. but-
No, I don't. I switched that.
Oh, gotcha, okay. And I wish Scott was here because I wanted to publicly thank him for, getting going on putting a polymer blade on the plow because, we just invested this year. The taxpayer invested, I believe, like $133,000 or $140,000 in coating and striping the ramp area. And we already know that steel blade has torn up probably 75 to 80% of the $330,000 that was, invested in the seal coat for that runway, and we can't have that happen to the ramp as well, because the public sees the ramp, they may not see the runway, but they're gonna see the ramp.
Yeah.
You know, it's gonna look pretty ugly in a year or two if we use that steel blade, so. Hopefully he's getting that polymer blade on there in the next couple of weeks, and that's gonna be a priority.
So we
Now,
did purchase one?
gotta purchase a polymer blade.
he's working on it.
He's working on that. So, and that also ties into with if, the village assumes leases the FBO from the airport and operates it, that whatever plow we use on that has a rubber or polymer blade on there. Because in the past, when we had the facility open for traffic by 2 PM, the day after the snowstorms stopped, we would use the truck to plow the ramp and the larger plow the gap to plow the runway. And we'd have the facility open most times by noon, but it was a heavy snow, 2 o'clock the next day. So with 2 people and that kind of equipment, I think we can help with that. The advanced air thing, and you know, I see their schedule, I believe I have a copy of it here, they're coming in about 11:30, if they had a 2-hour delay. You know, so I think that's possible to be able to open it up the day after.
That's the goal.
And we have not had the discussion. So I'm still technically an employee of the county to field the snow plow. So I was indemnified by the county as a volunteer. I know Mr. Mitchell was too, of course, Frazier's perfectly capable. So there's more than just your local road crew. that
Well,
might be
we'll
able
need to have
help.
those discussions. We need to
Later
advance
down the
that.
road.
We're working on a different snowplow schedule, not to get off on, but we want to make sure that we have a good team on shift
Yes.
7 days a week.
It needs to be staged. We need to know, it's easy to know in advance when the snow's coming.
Exactly.
We need to have people that are willing to be staged and get out there and get it done.
Yes, sir.
Does this include volunteers?
Well,
Yeah,
it's up to them.
Of course, but we need to structure it.
Right.
I'm sure it's not as simple as just volunteering. Unfortunately,
It's training.
it's training, and I'm sure there'd have to be, again, once we run it through the attorneys, how that would best work. But yes, we would love to have any qualified, assets available.
Thank you.
We'll go ahead with the rest of the agenda.
Yeah, so go ahead and get it approved and let's
Got a motion to approve today's agenda then?
So moved.
I move to approve the agenda.
Okay, second. Second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, so the FAA Airport Transfer Consultant RFP was approved. Mark notified us that there were some issues that he was experiencing from individuals that he was talking to, and we had other input. So we talked with Julie. Thanks, Julie, for helping us out on that to put out an amendment. And I guess if Julie can, are we all completed on that amendment?
Yeah, I'd appreciate it, Julie, just for the record, we explained.
That'd be great.
Hey, gentlemen, so some concerns were brought up about the RFP. Proposal, so we issued an amendment, an addendum to that, RFP. In that, the last paragraph on page 3.1 was stricken, referencing the EPA Form XP 215. Changes were highlighted on the revised RFP and are available for viewing at our website under the RFPs. So just some wording was changed and the EPA form was stricken out. On the RFP, it is highlighted any changes. We did add the scoring criteria for the disadvantaged business veterans preference is also added on there. And that RFP is out in the world and
And that
has been advertised.
That did not need to be approved by council, so that's all.
No, we're just gonna inform them. We'll inform council next Tuesday. I will be out of town for a finance infrastructure conference. But the manager or the mayor will
I'll be happy to,
inform council.
as the liaison to the committee, I'll be happy to address it. And then, yeah, it was our understanding to simple amendment. No one had responded yet.
Yeah. If they had responded, I would have to contact the respondents and say, this has been changed and let them change their RFP. Because it's before the
We
due
should be in
date.
good shape.
And Julie, I apologize, I didn't read the entire RFP document, but in there is language that says any communication with regards to this RFP should be directed to you and me only.
To me, all questions should be directed to the chief procurement officer, and then I will disseminate the questions to the subject matter experts to get an answer.
Cool. Perfect. So everyone remember that.
Mark?
Quick question before we move off of this. Julie, are you comfortable that an amendment or an addendum, what you have done, is going to be sufficient? Because I know that myself and I know of at least one other committee member that had a conversation. Granted, it was just about the issue in the former RFP that you've now addressed, but I'd hate to have any issue down the road where someone claims that one of the respondents, even though we don't have anyone that has responded to the RFP as of yet, if either of those groups that either I spoke to or one of the other committee members spoke to winds up getting the bid, do we need, I guess the question I'm trying to get to is, are you comfortable with an amendment, or should we just reissue, wipe the slate clean, and then not have any opening for anyone to claim that someone had a ex parte communication that then muddies the whole process? There was a question in there somewhere. I'm not sure I totally got to it, but
Thank you, Mark. I am comfortable with the addendum. I did check with the state. I did check with some other CPOs, so that is fine. I'm comfortable with the addendum.
perfect. Thank you very much.
And just to reinforce that as well, if there's language in there that says you are the contact for that RFP, then any outside ex parte communications that do occur, Mark, and I understand your concern, and it's a valid one, those ex parte communications are rendered moot by that language in the RFP.
Any questions or concerns concerning the RFP should be brought to your chief procurement officer.
Exactly. And so long as that language is in there.
Yeah, anything not with me is
Yeah.
Give or say.
Didn't happen.
Gibberish. So if they don't come to me with their questions, concerns, it's not my concern.
Okay.
All right, any other questions, gentlemen?
Thank you very much. Any other discussions on item A then? Okay, not, we'll go ahead, discussion on documents and data needed from Colfax County for consultant. We've talked so far about compliance plan, which I've not seen.
I'll just say that, again, we had requested that by email. I specifically asked for that. In my conversation with the county manager and the county attorney last Friday. Neither one of them was even aware of such a document. But they would, said that they would certainly look into it. So that was, verbally, discussed with, again, the county manager and the county attorney.
If I may comment, BJ, I think it has been said before, the most probable place that that compliance document lies is with the engineer.
Okay, and so, not to skip ahead. But when we get to the, status of the grants. So that was brought up again, and I wanted to wait till this portion of the,
Go ahead.
so obviously airport expenditures and income, I know Scott's also working on, Monty's requested, inventory. And we were told that you're currently working on that. So as far as airport expenditures, income and assets, that's being addressed. And the status of the FAA and New Mexico aviation grants, that discussion again with the manager and the attorney, they are directing, the county engineer, Mr. Provine, to provide that information. I'm hoping that they get the memo too he gets the memo about the, compliance plan.
Very good, thank you.
And at the same time, I'm hoping that item 4 and the additional documents or data, if you have any specific requests, please let me know. But again, all the items that I discussed, the survey, the appraisal, the inventory of assets, and the compliance plan were all, and the aviation grants were all discussed in that conversation.
And I'll make one more statement. If they have questions about what those documents look like, then they really need to reach out to the chairman, ask him that question, and just like Julie said, they can disseminate it to us to say, hey, this is what it looks like. That, some of those documents should be in the file cabinet and just probably never ended up there, got tossed, but
So I
they
did,
should be available.
I did offer our committee as a resource to the county.
Thank you, okay.
But I did not want, again, I just want to be cautious. I don't want this committee reaching out to the county directly.
Correct.
But if they come to us, we just want them to know that we're here to help.
Is this FAA compliance plan something we can get from the FAA or?
We're
is that a
trying
long
to.
Process.
It's a good thing, and we've actually asked for it over 3 months ago. Unfortunately, well, that'll gonna come up our discussion with what's going on with ADO and so forth.
That's our 50-10, right?
No, it's more than that. It's actually, it's almost like an agreement document that the FAA has, with the sponsor. And it's,
And the check on that.
and it says, hey, these are the things, now we check the box
Yeah.
for you to remain compliant for everything to be, continue as an airport.
And the check on that is the biannual 50-10.
That's correct. That's just, that would be the inspector coming out and saying, are you keeping up with your compliance requirements?
But the compliance, as I understand it, also have to do with the grants.
That's
So
correct.
That's part of what this whole transition of money is one of the budgets that we've seen has $1 billion, over $1 million is evidently somewhere.
Imagine if you're run a business, somewhere along the line, you have everything laid out. Or you're in county government, it's laid out. Someone looks at, state comes and looks at Angel Fire, correct?
We audit, annual audits. Yeah.
Right, so this is, but they look at a document and says, are you following what you agreed to do?
Yeah.
That's what that compliance document is. That's why it's so vital that we see it.
And as part of the negotiation, again, as far as where is this money, and we need to
So again,
we need to spend it.
and Mr. Provine's given me a very brief synopsis in a text message. But again, we'd like to have all this, documented and in front of this committee.
And Lawrence, if you don't mind me saying, the reason why is because when we move into the documents that we will be working through with the FAA, that compliance document outlines all of those little boxes that have to be checked, every T crossed, every dot. So we have to compare the two as we move through. That's why it's so vital.
I
'cause it asks all
understand, I
those
think having
questions.
it, obviously, yeah, having it would be an advantage, but also if we continue to struggle, perhaps our consultant can help.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, and they, yeah,
secure anything, including that and anything else that we might need.
that's right.
So
I also think that SWOT document is gonna be very valuable with, as far as the, appraisal of the airport goes.
Scott,
Sorry,
you have
Scott, go ahead.
How accurate or how detailed does the committee want the inventory? I don't wanna have to list out every carriage bolt, every washer.
I think that's a question for your boss.
Yeah,
Okay, so, are y'all want a copy of it too, or?
and I don't know if you have a template that you're working with. I wouldn't imagine, and again, I don't wanna speak for your boss, but I wouldn't imagine you need to go to that length, but I think there is gonna be an area that you can disclose.
Okay, does this committee wanna be aware of the inventory that I sent out, or?
We'll have you report to your boss and then have them provide us with it once it's
Yes, sir.
approved.
that'd be best.
And I would suggest maybe see what Rusty has at Raton. He may have a template.
Do that, maybe contact Dusty. Dusty might
Oh, I
have
thought
a
it was Rusty.
Yeah,
Dusty.
no, what you meant.
That guy.
Under item 2, airport expenditures and income, the only thing I've added to that, and I sent you all an email telling you that I found on the East Gallup Airport a week and a half ago, that it was similar to our situation. The city does own that airport. And I thought maybe that city manager might be of some use to us if he will, is providing us what he's doing over there. And so that name's public, so I sent a copy of the name and the phone number if some of us wanted to contact him. The other thing I'll add is I know
You emailed that information?
I sent that information.
I didn't know.
You didn't get it?
No,
Okay,
I got,
resend it.
I got one email from you a few days ago, but
Another one like the day
I
before
don't
that.
understand anything
But I'll
about
send
Gallup.
it again. And it's on, like, if you got Ford flight, it's in there, for the airport, his name. I also will tell you that after looking at the Raton FBO lease, the individual there, I am familiar, he is a member of the Civil Air Patrol over in Taos, and he's currently in Guatemala, or I would have called him and asked him, he'll talk to us too. So we might have a source of information from Raton, which would be valuable. So that's just.
If we could get that historical data from Latone, from Colfax County, the income and expenses over the last 5 years or so, the information we got was terribly inadequate. It didn't follow any kind of accounting guidelines. I mean, they listed inventory as an expense. It was, I mean, it's just, you probably saw those spreadsheets, they're not very complete or accurate. So it would be nice to be able to get that, if they have it, I don't know.
Yeah, and the income to offset the expenditures. I mean, that's kind of a key number to have, right?
Sure.
You know, for
What's the
budgeting
history?
in the
I mean,
future.
that's gonna be our starting point for putting together a forecast,
Yeah.
What have we done in the past?
Alvin's told me that the counties typically keep the income separate in the general budget versus the page that's got the expenses. So getting that income information may be.
As much detail as we can get from them, we can weed through it.
I looked through the data for Gallup actually, and the most recent data I could find on the website was 2016. I have no idea. Why they've been 8 years and still haven't published anything since, but it was almost as cryptic as what we've been getting from Colfax, so maybe it's difficult. Anyway, that's that's that item. I think we've already discussed the grants issue, and the additional documents or data would be that 5-year budget with the general portion that's got the income in it. That would be nice to have. So going to item C, discussion of village press releases. Did you have anybody have any? Do you think we need another one at this point? I don't think so.
I don't either. I think there's too many things up in the air.
I agree.
May I?
You want to discuss that?
Yeah, even as soon as yesterday, we're having discussion, here in the coffee shop, how many people are already poo-pawing the idea, players, long-term residents in the town. They don't like the idea, of this happening. And I think I suggested maybe at the very outset before we even met that a good PR campaign is vital. So where do we stand with that? To just maybe feed out a little bit, say, this is why we're doing this, and what's exciting about this, what the benefits and features are.
So I think that would be something that we could certainly look at, the overall big picture for the village.
Yeah,
In the airport. Yeah, without getting into the weeds of it at the moment.
right.
And we all knew that when we took on this endeavor, that there's always gonna be a group of people that, once they get here, nothing needs to change.
That's great.
But I'm a firm believer that this village can't currently sustain itself on the number, on the budgets that we currently have to work with. When we have to do whatever we can to bolster GRT to provide essential services to our residents, much less our guests. And I truly feel like that the airport is the biggest, single economic driver that we can, pursue. So I don't know that we ever created I know we were requested, and forgive me if you did, Lawrence, but not our mission statement as a committee, but our, something that we can put out for in a brief, not a 2-page letter, but a paragraph explaining the goal of this committee.
I have yet to find one individual when, an honest discussion, that they didn't turn and come around to say.
It's just education.
It's just education. This is a good thing, isn't it? It really is. Wow, that's exciting. Their whole mannerisms change. But no one out there right now is talking. So that's why I brought it up, is we probably need to keep that in our focus.
Well, we do, and we need to be informative if nothing else.
Is there anything on the village website right now about this?
No, sir. No, there isn't. And that's where I would, if we could have a mission statement, or paragraph, I think that would be helpful.
Is there one thing, sorry, is there one particular thing that people are saying that they're against? I mean, is it a budget issue? Is it a noise issue? Is it
It's budget.
it's money?
Is it, why would we expend monies on these things when the roads need to get fixed? It goes back to that, but then it also is why,
Well,
the big picture why.
okay. And so, yeah, that's the first argument. Why would we expend money? And the reason I'm saying we do is invest in that so that we can bring in the money so that we can properly fix the roads and infrastructure.
And that is how I counter personally.
That argument.
That, I use that exact argument. When they see it, they go, oh, I didn't realize you could do that. I didn't realize that money stream. I didn't realize, oh,
Yeah.
this is
Well, it
good.
gets back to Fraser's formula of every dollar that comes into that airport, what it ultimately
That's correct.
leads into our local economy.
Well, the Gulfstream jet lands here and 8 people climb out of it for a long weekend. How much money do you think they're dropping in this community?
The GRT on the fuel alone.
Yeah.
Probably the positive part of the airline too. That was one thing at Gallup. I did talk to one lady over there that was using that. They go from Gallup to Phoenix every day, same airline, Advanced Airline. And she said it was really great. She really liked it. So I think that's another positive that happens to be coincidentally at the same time that it's an advantage for.
Well, and again, we want to see this work and hopefully receive more grant funds to expand
To expand it.
outside of just Albuquerque.
If I remember correctly, in discussions with New Mexico State, that economic driver was a key point for funding for grant monies.
Very.
So, you probably are aware of that. So, yeah.
Okay, good. Okay. Any other comments on?
And the final hurdle, so the first one is the expenditures at the airport. Not understanding that even if the airport on paper operates at a loss, the economic impact would be a net positive to the village. So getting that message out there. And then two, we're just gonna have to, again, there's the crowd that once I'm here, nothing needs to change. No one else needs to come in. It's perfect the way it is. And again, that's just gonna be a debate.
And I'm sorry, Lawrence, one last thing. So Scott has dealt with, air traffic, noise abatement counts just in the last couple of weeks since our last meeting. So the FAA is going, oh, we're gonna increase well, wait a minute, before we do this is in regards to that we're changing subjects to the advanced air. And all this approval goes on, we need to have, it's an environmental impact study is what it is. That's part of the addressment in the big picture that I talked about. People are saying, well, we don't want big jets flying in here all the time. We don't want all this noise. This is something that could be very simply stated. Hey, this is what the impact looks like. It's minimal.
And I'd have to agree with you there, but on that same note, I do hope to see, resurgence of military aircraft.
Correct.
And quite frankly, they're the ones that you hear the locals discussing the noise. But again, when the C-130s are flying around, when we're getting chopper traffic in and out. But again, to your point, I believe it's minimal. But I truly feel like that's something that we're all aware of and has been discussed, but maybe not openly, but to get military traffic back into the valley.
Absolutely.
Is good for a number of reasons.
Sorry, I ran this.
And part of that noise has nothing to do with the airport. The C-130s, gunships orbiting overhead, they don't stop here.
Yeah.
They can come anytime they want.
Let's hope they don't stop.
That's a good point. Anyway, yeah. Okay. Very good. Under new business then, discussion of airport budget estimate efforts. No. I think, Fraser and Glenn's have been looking at that.
Well, I just went in and found a template that we looked at. I know you were, starting that process the day before I even found the template. But I think before, personally, I spend any more time on it, I need some historical data.
Yeah.
And at that point in time, we can analyze the historical data and then begin to input what we think is what we can project into the future, which can be a useful data, which can be useful data for the consultant, to present to the FAA, the ADO, in, going through that process there. So I don't know whether it's worthwhile spending any time on that now until we.
We just don't have anything to work with right now other than
Exactly.
guesses, how many gallons do we think we're gonna sell?
Yeah.
And what's, what are our expenses? I don't know.
Mayor, are you in need of an estimate like that at all?
Of course, but it needs to be good. I mean, the garbage in, garbage out. We don't need to be guessing.
Okay.
So I think once we get that data, we can put a little more accuracy or precision into any forecasting that needs to be done for the process to get well done into the FAA.
Very good. Okay, then item B, airport, point of contact. You tried this morning. I think.
Still nothing, sent emails, made calls. I think that we ought to have a discussion. We don't have to make a motion, but it was brought onto the table, multiple meetings ago that if we ran into this wall, we all already know the reason why we hit this wall. That we had an offer to go to our state congressmen, senators, and have them begin to push the buttons on the FAA and get us out of the picture and start having government do it. Because that's how things get done, period. That's just how it gets done. And so I don't know, do we want to say, hey, let's give it another week or till the next meeting in a couple weeks? And give them a chance to start responding? Or do we want to start making some calls to
So we wanna wait to see what our respondents are to this RFP and maybe lean on them to get that done.
Yeah, and some of I'm not sure of all of the, people who will come in, but most of them should have contacts
Exactly.
at a higher level in the FAA at Washington. I would assume who we hire would have that. So yeah, I'm fine with that too.
Just a suggestion.
No,
Makes
it's
sense
good.
to me.
So we'll just table this. I mean, I'll continue to keep, this is just basic questions that we need
And
to ask.
that's fair. I just wanna, I always feel like, versus passing the ball to the responder, whoever ultimately word this RFP. Sometimes, if it changes courses, it may be starting over. I don't know.
Yeah,
You would certainly know more in that world.
I think the key is that this committee has a relationship directly with the ADO, not just through the consultant.
I mean, if you can get through to them and, explain that and that they're, that we're currently out for RFP and that they're currently picking it up, but to establish that contact, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but.
The question that I have is pretty simple right now, is what is your bandwidth? I mean, because then we were told back in August, they didn't have bandwidth to do any work. So what is the bandwidth now here in October and going to November? And what would a projected bandwidth look like, in January, let's say, after everything is settled in?
And I guess, ask, are you gonna do nothing until you get the application?
Correct.
That might be.
Yeah, are you waiting for
Are you
something?
waiting for it?
Yeah, and then, of course, the question is, do you have to have the compliance document? We'd really like a copy of it.
Exactly.
They know that, it's been sent to them in an email, but.
They should have a copy of that.
Yeah, absolutely, they have to.
They have to. Okay, so I think that's all of that one. And for item C, improvements needed. I know we talked about the sidewalk. There's about a 30-foot piece of sidewalk there. Right now, people are gonna have to walk through gravel and mud and snow and whatever else, because there's no sidewalk to get to the aircraft for advanced airmen.
So when the three of us were in the meeting with the customer service representatives from Advanced Air, there was a concern as far as them, the way they like to move luggage is like a hotel luggage, for a bellboy type person cart. And, discussions were made to maybe run that thing through the hangar. That's inviting a little bit of danger because cranking a wingtip on a twin engine Cessna, can be a very expensive ordeal with a, 200-pound luggage rack or 300-pound luggage rack. So, that limits us to, okay, luggage gets transported under the port cochere, onto a luggage rack and then from then out to the ramp. Now, maybe they can take it out to the ramp on a vehicle, but if we had concrete between the front door and the ramp or to the sidewalk to the ramp, I think everybody knows logistically what I'm talking about. Then I think that's gonna make their job much easier, and that's an easy thing for, sorry, I'm speaking for you here, to plow, shovel, whatever the case may be, so that they have a route out to the aircraft with their
Is it
baggage.
about 30 feet? Is that what you're talking about? From-
Yeah, about
from
30
floor to
foot.
the sidewalk?
Yes,
Yeah,
5
So,
feet wide, maybe 150 square feet of concrete.
that's correct.
yeah, we were hoping maybe somebody with the village had enough contacts with a concrete contractor.
Well, that's the easier part of it, but the other would be getting the county to approve that, short of donating it.
in my experience a year and a half ago, I was told, if you want it, go dig it out and you take care of it.
Yeah,
And so the county a year ago had no interest in putting that in,
so
or paying for
No
Yeah,
objection to,
but no objection to somebody donating it and getting it done, but they weren't gonna do it.
I'll volunteer my finishing skills.
Yeah.
well, I think that's something, I'll just let you know. Obviously, we're getting late in the year for flat work pours, you need to make sure the ground's not frozen. Which it isn't currently, but every snow we get, and the temps dipping into the twenties every night now. One concern is just late in the year to pour flat work. Two, the local concrete plant is scheduling even the smallest pours 2 to 3 weeks in advance. So I would just say, at this late date, I don't anticipate that happening, and I think we need to, I think the other suggestion was a valid one. If there was a vehicle, a pickup truck, something that they could put luggage in and drive it out. That's the airplane for this season. I think that's a valid, we need to have something in place. So we could certainly look at, the auction is complete, but we even pulled a few vehicles out of the auction and we salvaged for use. So we're trying to get all the life out of everything that we own. So to that point, if we have a vehicle available, I'll look into it. If we can make one available, I can't make that commitment today.
Sure.
But I think in the short term for the December flights, I think that's what we need to look for.
Do you do, not too far off the subject, does the village happen to have any stanchions with, pull out, ribbon, like what you'd have in an airport for your Congo line? Do you guys have any of those things around here?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
I've never seen.
Scott?
And the scheduled service, can they provide the vehicles? It's gonna be there,
Yes.
you know what I mean?
yeah,
That's an option too. Good
And,
question.
and the stanchions I'm talking about, in case you have to use the hangar in an emergency, you can rope off.
Let me ask you
Here.
this, where does the current passenger traffic, what they call that same path? They're going through a gravel path or?
Yes.
Asphalt, milled asphalt.
I'll look, I'm not gonna commit to any of it at this meeting, but if there's something that can be done in the short term,
Come on, BJ.
You feel the thumbs being pushed on you?
like $250 a yard too, it's
Is that in place cost or is that cost of the money?
that's just the cost of the mud. And granted, the 30-foot section, I mean, we're not looking at
No.
one truck, but it adds up. But yeah, it's good to have our attention. I wasn't aware of that.
Any other, that's the last item on the agenda, so any other comments from anyone, questions or?
Oh, yes, there was one that, on back, same subject, C. Did we ever find anything out about the lodgers tax funds available at the county level for improvements at the airport? Was that ever brought up in discussion to see if that money's still around?
Oh, as far as the ones that were already committed to the.
Yeah,
I have not brought that subject up.
There's your funding for that concrete. Amongst
It
other
was
things,
for hard assets, furniture, from what I understand.
It
furniture.
was initially, but that's still nonetheless an airport improvement.
It's worth a phone
call. Yeah.
it's a big flat concrete couch.
Yes.
There was a push for concrete furniture one.
So-
Do you recall approximately that dollar amount?
17K.
That would more than cover that.
That's what was remaining unspent.
Yeah, there was 30K donated to the airport and 13K was expended.
I wouldn't even be half that.
But-
What's remaining?
And then that brings up the subject, is there monies within the village in that fund that could be transferred over or used for those very things?
Yeah, and so we'd be pouring concrete in December
Yeah.
if it was approved.
Well, is there anybody that we can arm that we can twist very hard to maybe
Have an emergency meeting.
squeak it in?
Let me make some phone calls again. If we can make it happen and we feel like there's a window, I'll do everything in my power to see what we can do. It would solve again, nothing up for the luggage, but our passengers as well.
It is. It's atrocious to watch people slug through the snow and mud and ice.
It's not like we get the high heeled crowd coming off the jets, but nonetheless, there's some discerning people coming across there who, and deservedly so, look at walking through reclaimed asphalt, built asphalt.
It's not the best first impression.
No,
Exactly.
no.
Would there be a way to mark that just so everybody knows where it's gonna be if they come to work?
Oh, it's pretty apparent.
Scott knows for sure. if
Yeah,
somebody
we
asks.
laid down traffic cones at the very least.
Yeah, it's-
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Is there, I guess, Scott, is there anything else you can think of while we're on the subject?
For, committee improvements,
Immediate improvements in preparation for these flights.
more snow removal equipment, maybe some manpower from the village.
We discussed that.
Okay, all right, I'm just,
No, that's okay. Anything else?
Off the top of my head, no.
Furniture?
So new furniture would be nice. Would be good.
How about floor cleaning equipment or any cleaning equipment at all to keep the place spruced up?
I think we're good on that.
Okay.
But, Dr. Boyd's gonna bring up flower baskets and gardens and scented candles. I'd rather maintain it as a pilot's FBO for pilots, not a, gift shop. Right, the restaurant, didn't hear rumors about that, the deli.
Well, I think that's down the road.
Okay. Meeting improvements.
I think BJ was just thinking for the
Passengers.
passenger flights that were coming in.
Luggage transfer and just getting to and from the.
I would rather have a hanger, somebody's gonna face plant right into a prop, or trip over a extension cord.
Yeah, we were talking about that. We want to keep them out of the
Okay.
hangar. The
Yeah.
public does not need to be in the hangars.
Correct.
No, not whatsoever.
Just liability purposes, insurance purposes are gonna dictate that.
Those are just the, concrete pathway.
Yeah.
Maybe, like a conveyor belt for luggage. I don't know. I think this stuff should be provided by, service and a vehicle.
Okay.
Part.
Okay, no other items? Okay, adjourn. Seventh of November. Seven? Any